Hey friends, welcome into TexAgs Rewind presented by Specs, the 4-time Retailer of the Year. I am David Nuno. Got David Davis there at the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. What was today you didn't do the Social Center, you were hanging out behind the scenes. What was your favorite part of the show?
My favorite part of the show was hearing from Mr. Billy Liucci. I was really excited to hear that. I'm excited to see what...
You were excited to hear from Billy?
I was. I've never met him before. This is my first time meeting him. And
Is he a big deal to you?
I think so. Well, yes, definitely.
Just don't let him know that.
Definitely. Please. Well, my boyfriend's family, they've been asking me every day. They're like, have you met him? Have you met him? And I'm like, no, but...
You finally met Billy?
I finally met him. I'm super excited.
He's really mean, isn't he?
No, I'm super excited. But I was excited to hear about Mbako, and I'm excited to see what the basketball program does this
Pop
season.
Isaacs, that was a big news that I had on the show, too. Yeah, so we had Billy on the show. We had Josh Pate on the show. I'm going to draft Josh Pate because I thought the conversation was splendid. And another legend on the program, Charean the Dream Williams from Pro Football Talk. That and more. It's the Rewind. Check it. Do you think things are going to get done this week in Destin? Do you think we're finally going to get the 9-game season? Do you think some of these other issues that the SEC's been kind of tackling will actually get figured out? Especially knowing that we're very close to that July 1st day with the House settlement where things are supposed to go live, and we still don't have any clarity there.
I think there's a desire to get some stuff done. I don't think there's an answer to your question. I don't think there's a yes or no. Well, let me put it this way. I don't think there's an educated yes or no, because I don't think they went down there knowing for sure that they were going to get action. Look, I could sit here and talk to you, Nuno, all day about how I think the SEC has played a part in the worsening of college athletics. I could tell you that, and I'd be honest about it. But I can also tell you I understand the stance that the SEC takes a lot of times, and that 9-game conference schedule is one of them. There's no way I would ever move to it unless you told me that strength of schedule was going to be not defined differently, but weighted differently. Because he's right. Sankey's right in a lot of the stuff he says about, he said yesterday, I don't think the league schedule in the SEC, the strength of it, is properly baked in. He's right. I completely agree with him. I talked to DeBoer when we went up there or down there in the spring, just generically, like what are the biggest differences when you came here? He said, I didn't have an appreciation for how tough the league schedule was. And he said it wasn't even just playing Georgia. Everyone knows that's hard. But he said, it really hits you when you play like, I'm making up names here, but like a Mississippi State or an Arkansas, a team that's not near the top of the standings, a team that's maybe en route to a sub-500 season, but they've still got like 9 or 10 future NFL guys on their roster. And the caliber of athlete, they felt it when they played Oklahoma last year. Oklahoma was a bad team last year and smoked Alabama. Because on any given Saturday, when you have that kind of disproportionately high-level talent on the roster, if they click, it doesn't matter what their record is. And you don't really find that outside of the very top of the Big Ten. You don't find that in any other conference. And so Sankey's looking at that saying, as long as the attitude on that committee is you are what your record says you are, and as long as they value, record over quality of schedule and whatnot, why would we move to 9 league games? Because the fact of the matter is, the SEC playing 8 league games has a tougher conference schedule than other leagues playing 9 league games. And when I say that, I would get argument back to me, but people aren't arguing the merit of the point. They're arguing that they don't like the point. But that doesn't make it any less true. You feeling a way about it doesn't make it any less true. So I don't know how they could have movement on that this week unless they've gotten assurances that sort of, their requests will be met. And I don't know that they've gotten those assurances yet.
I know we've talked about the Shamar Stewart holdout for a couple times, but what's the core problem in this? And why is this particular story getting so much attention nationally when there are others who have not signed?
Well, it's basically the Bengals trying to do him dirty. And they're trying to put language in the contract that's going to void some of his guarantees, which they've never had in contracts before. It wasn't in Jamar Chase's contract that he signed not long ago, or T. Higgins, who signed not long ago. It wasn't in the 2 previous first-round draft pick contracts. So basically, they're trying to add language to his contract that it shouldn't be in there, and he's standing his ground. And nobody can blame him for doing that. And you are able to sign an injury waiver guarantee, an injury waiver is basically what it is. In other words, if you get hurt, the team can't then say, oh, well, you're hurt, we're not paying you. They still have to pay you. They're all slotted. Like, the contracts are slotted. They know what they're getting once they're drafted based on the draft pick and based on the increase in value from last year. So they all know what they're getting once they're drafted. That's not the issue. So they can sign that injury waiver, and he has chosen not to sign the injury waiver, and their second-round pick also has chosen not to sign the injury waiver. And I get it. It's just Cincinnati being Cincinnati, the Bengals being the Bengals, and trying to lowball him with this language that doesn't need to be in the contract. So I get where he's coming from. It's not his fault. His agent, he's obviously got a good agent because he's directing him the right way, and until the Bengals come to their senses and get the language out of the contract, he's not going to sign. And it's unfortunate for him because you need the practice time. I'm glad he's out there and mirroring and getting the mental reps and all that, but it's not the same as being on the field for these OTAs and mini camp and everything else that's coming. So I hope they get this done this week so we can get them to practice and at least get a little bit of practice before training camp starts.
You can be disappointed in baseball. You can be concerned. You could be pissed off. It doesn't have to bleed into something good happening in another sport that, you can't just say, yeah, I'm fired up about that. Or that's good. Or that's great. Or I'm excited. Or I think they're going to be better than I think in year one. Or I think they're going to go all the way to the tournament and go farther than whatever you want to think. But you don't have to crap on anyone who wants to look at something and go, man, that's actually good news.
Yeah.
We need that around here right now. So when you get it, you don't have to drag in the bad news into it to drag that good news down as your little built-in defense mechanism, because that's all it is.
Billy, there's to focus on some of the bad news.
Yeah.
Baseball-wise, a hugely disappointing season, a lot of smoke about Michael Early's job security.
Yep.
What are you hearing?
Well, here's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing a lot of people nationally. A lot of people don't. They're seeing reports from like credible sides to me, like D1 baseball and Kendall, and then they're taking that to a whole nother level, and it's like they tried to go
Johnny Topper.
up. Yeah, Johnny Topper. I don't know. But they were trying to go above and beyond what the last person said, and then that next person does it, and they're all tripping over themselves trying to get breaking news on a coaching change at A&M. And I've had a million vultures text or call me, hey, what are you hearing? What are you hearing? I think this is an upgrade, a significant upgrade over Duke Miles, who they lost, who's a good player. You're getting a guy that averaged, in his career has averaged close to 16 a game. Mm-hmm. He can really shoot. You saw Luke wrote about what he did against it. You talk about that, what he did against A&M a couple times. But Texas Tech to Creighton was off to a great start, then had that injury. He is a man. You look at all this talent, right? And there needed to be someone to be a facilitator to get these guys the ball. And they've got Jakari Lane, and now they've got Pop Isaacs. You needed someone to be able to get the ball to Mackenzie Mbako, to Rylan Griffin, to all this talent they've assembled. And it's a lot of talent, man. I hear people, I want to talk in a second about what they've built in such a short time on the roster. But in terms of Isaacs, he's a dynamic scorer who can get his shot. Someone last night was telling me about him and comparing. He said he's got that Trae Young ability to just get his shot off and hit from a high percentage. He's just a tough guard. And one thing that someone else said too is he's a winner, and he wanted to there was a reason in this process that he didn't go to Ole Miss because he wanted to go play for a team they thought could win immediately. So the idea of him coming here is really interesting because, and same thing with like Mbako coming back. These are guys that think they can win right now this year. And that's going to be tough. but putting together a roster was going to be tough. And they did that, and I think they've done it to a level that I don't think any of us expected. And I don't think it would even have been fair to expect them to, assemble this level of talent. Now, and by talent, I mean, in most cases, production. When they were adding some of these guys early that people were going, oh, well, they played at a smaller level, or they only played this many minutes, or at this school, they rarely played here. You took a 7-footer from Texas who was a freshman last year on a tournament team. Now he comes to A&M, he's got time to develop and be depth and play. And I think as they were getting those guys, I kept saying they're building a roster. Every single player will have a role on the roster. They started with one guy. They're close to being done. I think they've got one, maybe two more additions, and I think one of them in particular I'm pretty excited about, or I will be if they can get this guy. So,
all right, we're going to close it out. Tell the people what they should do.
Remember to follow, like, and subscribe, and even share or comment too if you want.
Good stuff there. All right, folks, we'll see you mañana.